Hello, everyone. This is Omar from the Third Rail. I hope you guys are doing good. Today, we got a nice show for you. You're going to see the reality when honesty in journalism meets hypocrisy, religious and conservative hypocrisy. We're going to witness today the dismantling of Joe Walsh, an ex-congressman, a conservative radio host, and a Zionist Christian who are the worst of the worst, who have this belief that if you pack Israel with all the Jews in the world and kick all the Palestinians, you're going to induce the coming of Jesus. The problem with these Zionist Christians is they don't help the Christians in the Middle East. So, for example, if Jesus was to come, like they say, he's going to say, where are all the Christians? This is the problem they have, but you're going to witness a beating today of this guy, and it's going to be a beautiful beating of him because Mehdi Hasan, if you don't know him, he's an Oxford graduate. He's a great debater. He holds all these people's feet to the fire when they come on his show, and he lets them know they're not going to get a free ride. Now, let's start the show. Let's witness the dismantling of hypocrisy and show it in full force. And I will guarantee you this is the last time Joe Walsh will ever go on the Mehdi show. You ready? Dum, 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 dee, dum, dum. Let's go. All right. Hold on. Already, we got a problem. All right. Let me fix the sound. Give me a second. You know, I'm not a professional guy, so it's okay. You know. So this is... You have to stay with me and watch this to the end. If you believe in real media.
We're going to talk about.
If Israel wanted to exterminate the Palestinian people, they could have done it.
That's the worst argument you've ever made in all the time I've been. I'll tell you
Correct.
what. Vladimir Putin could have erased everyone in Ukraine with a nuke.
No, it's not Israel's policy to target civilians. Israel has gone out of their way not to.
335 bullets fired into a car with children. Is that a war crime?
I don't. You know what? Could be. Investigate it. But God damn it,
It was investigated, Joe.
This is what Hamas does all the time.
Right. They're starving people in Gaza. Are they starving people in Gaza?
What would you answer me something?
No,
they're not starving people
So Cindy
in Gaza.
McCain.
Yes, there's starvation in Gaza, but gosh darn it, Israel has gone out of their way to allow aid in.
200 kids killed in the West Bank since October 7th. Are you okay with that?
No, I'm not
condemn
okay.
Israel? Okay, do you condemn Israel for killing 200 children in the West Bank?
I'd have to know, Mehdi.
You'd have to know how the children were killed.
Yes, I'd have to know how the children was killed. Who's responsible for the children?
The Israelis are.
Answer this.
This is brutal. When I mean brutal, I mean brutal.
There's no peace in that region. Why? Is it completely
Because of
one-sided?
Benjamin Netanyahu.
That's why. No, hold on. No, it's
I'll
not.
read it a third time.
No,
That's all it would
Mehdi,
take.
don't
You
read
can't
it a
pull
third
my
time.
question out
Let
of my
me
hand.
answer the freaking question.
You may have watched part one of my interview with former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh, where we discussed MAGA and Donald Trump and Elon Musk. But coming up is part two, and it's the kind of interview I haven't done for a very long time. It got very, very heated. We debated Israel, Gaza, war crimes, genocide, and more. You're going to want to watch this. Roll the tape. You have been an...
By the way, Mehdi, I have 2 subscriptions. I have one for me and one for my wife, just to help you with your $72 every year. So I'm helping out, okay?
Outspoken opponent of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, going as far as to call it a genocide. But when it comes to Gaza, you've criticized people for calling Gaza a genocide. Why is that, Joe? Why is what's happening in Ukraine a genocide, but not what's happening in Gaza, when far more people have been killed and displaced in Gaza than in Ukraine?
I think it goes to motive and intent. I think Putin is trying to kill, and he has been for 3 years, Ukrainian civilians, kidnapping Ukrainian children. His intent is to kill civilians. You and I can arm wrestle. I don't think that's Israel's intent at all. I think Israel...
Even though Israeli government members have said far more genocidal stuff than Vladimir Putin has.
Completely. There are extreme members of Israel's government.
Not just extreme members, the president, the prime minister.
There always have been. But
The president and prime minister of the country
I know,
have said stuff that Vladimir Putin has not said about Ukraine, and yet Joe Walsh. If you said neither's a genocide, then I'd be fine. We'd move on. We'll talk about other things about Gaza. What I find fascinating is that you're happy to say genocide here, but if you say it there, you get mad. I don't get it.
Well, I don't get mad. I just think
You do. I've seen some of your tweets.
I just think Putin's intent is to eliminate the Ukrainian
Based on
people.
what? His words.
Based on his actions.
Why is Israel's words and actions not the same?
Israel's actions and words. Again, you can find some, but Israel's
I could read you dozens. I'd be here all day if I started reading out all the genocidal statements from Israeli men.
I can find you a more history.
Just a few days ago, the deputy speaker of the Israeli parliament and senior member of the Likud party, Netanyahu's party, said that the Palestinian civilians, his words, civilians, are scum, subhuman, and the women and children should be separated so that men can all be killed. That is stuff that Milosevic said. That is stuff I've not even heard Putin say. I don't hear Joe Walsh condemning that as genocidal.
Well, I would condemn that, and I will condemn that statement.
That's a genocidal statement.
That is a genocidal statement. I'm saying, Mehdi, that is a very minority view overall in Israel. Oh, my God, in Israel's government and among the Israeli people.
Well, put the Israeli people to one side. There's many polls. The Israeli government consists of Netanyahu and Smotrich and Amichai Eliyahu, who said, let's drop a nuke on Gaza.
That's not the majority. You think
that is the Israeli government, Joe? They're the people killing the Palestinians right now. You think creating the post-war plan to wipe out the Palestinians with Trump to get rid of.
So our friend Joe Walsh is saying that Putin wanted to kill the children of Ukraine. You know how many people have been killed in a full-scale war with airplanes, rockets, and both sides have the same weaponry? 650 children as of 2025, according to the United Nations. Israel has killed almost 15,000 children, the average age between 1 to 7 years old. So you do the math. Why would you defend evil? This is the whole idea with the Christian Zionists. You are not the disciple of Jesus' church. You are the disciple of Satan, of the devil. It can't be. You can't have both. You cannot support a side that kills children and destroys men and women in the name of your idea that if we support and give money to Israel to kill these people, Jesus will come. It's not going to happen.
Them from the place. Is it genocidal?
Is it Israel's intent to target and kill Palestinian civilians?
100%, yes.
You believe it has? That's been their intent from day one after October 7th.
They've said it, Joe. They've lit the guy. I just quoted to you. The deputy speaker of the parliament said, "Let's kill all the adult men in Gaza."
And I'm
so you're just putting your hands in your ears.
No. I'm telling you that's a minority view. That's not the majority.
Okay, Benjamin Netanyahu said they are Amalek. What is Amalek, Joe? In the Bible, Amalek is kill everybody: men, women, children, even the donkeys. That's what Netanyahu said.
Mehdi,
I didn't hear Putin say that.
Mehdi, again, I can find extreme things that members of Israel's government has said.
Yeah, that counts as intent, and that's why they're at the ICJ, and that's why ICJ is investigating him. That's why some of Israel's leading Holocaust scholars have said it's a genocide.
If Israel wanted to exterminate the Palestinian people, they could have done it in 3 months.
That's the worst argument you've ever made in all the time I've made. I'll tell you why. Vladimir Putin could have erased everyone in Ukraine with a nuke.
No.
Yes, he could.
Oh, God, no.
Yes, he could.
Well, with a nuke.
Yeah.
But with a nuke, then...
No, hold on. Your argument is Israel is not genocidal because they haven't killed everyone in Gaza and they could. I'm saying Vladimir Putin could kill everyone in Ukraine and he hasn't. Therefore, according to Joe Walsh's logic, Vladimir Putin is not genocidal.
A different situation in this degree. Israel is capable. From day one, they were capable...
As is Putin.
15,000 children dead versus 650 children dead in Ukraine. According to the United Nations, 12,500 Ukrainians have been killed, men, women, and children, in a 5-year war, while Israel managed to kill almost 50,000 people. These are people who have been identified. There's a lot of people who are still under the rubbles, and according to the Lancet organization in London, there's the estimate is 186,000 dead in direct and indirect death due to Israel's genocidal actions inside Gaza.
Well, only with nukes. Israel is fighting another sovereign nation with a full-on military, with the support of the world community. Ukraine. Right,
You
right.
meant Russia, you said Israel.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
meant
I'm
Russia,
sorry.
yes.
I'm sorry. So Russia literally has an opposing army supported that.
But it could wipe it out. And by the way, the definition of genocide is not to kill everyone in a place.
Mehdi,
you know this, right?
I do.
They don't have to kill everyone to be genocidal.
Oh, I know that. But Mehdi,
But what they've done meets many of the criteria of genocide, which is why they're in front of the ICJ, which is why some of the leading genocide scholars in the world are saying it's a genocide. Omar Bartov, Israeli Holocaust historian. Amos Goldberg, Israeli Holocaust historian. Daniel Blatvick, Israeli Holocaust. They all say it's genocide. Are they crazy? These people study this for a living, Joe.
But do you?
Not you and me.
No, I know that, and I respect those opinions. But I don't think that's the majority view. But secondly, going back to Russia,
Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, all say genocide.
Well, again,
Human rights groups. Israeli Holocaust historian Joe Walsh. With respect, what do you know that they don't know?
With respect, I'm sure it's more than Joe Walsh. But again, just to get back to Russia on this point, Mehdi, so Russia would be forced to use a nuke because Russia is fighting literally an army.
But they could, is what I'm saying. People were worried about Putin using nukes.
But a nuke then would mean the destruction of Russia. That's a whole different equation. Israel doesn't have to use a nuke. And
yes, because they're fighting people with AK-47s. The whole idea is the argument from the Christian Zionists and other who support these genocides is Israel has the right to defend itself. Okay, the question you should always ask, against what? What is Israel actually defending itself against? To maintain an ethno-state and keep the people under occupation, steal their land, and deny them any sort of political or human rights. That's what Israel is defending. So when these idiots come, well, Israel has to defend itself. Does Israel has the right to exist? The question should be asked, do the Palestinians have the right to exist? That's the real question. These are bad hats, but this booklet was written by a guy named Frank Luntz, L-U-N-T-Z. He did it for the Israeli government, and they used that booklet that he gave them to argue in the media. But these idiots, they don't have no stake in the game. The Christian Zionists, they're idiots. They're just giving their money to Israel. At the same time, many of the Christian communities are disappearing in the Middle East due to poverty, due to war, to many things. They don't support these communities. If you are a real Christian, you will support your Christian brothers and sisters, even if they have to be Arabs or Palestinian or Iraqi or Lebanese, whatever they are. These are the people that Jesus says when they go to Jesus and say, Jesus, we have did everything in your name. We have built, we healed this, we did the sick, we helped the poor. We did everything. I think it's in Matthew 7:23 or 7:22. And Jesus will say, go away. I never knew you. Get out. Go. This is them.
They didn't from day one to get rid of the Palestinian people.
But they have made life uninhabitable. It's not hypothetical. Right now, as of right now, Gaza is uninhabitable. Donald Trump says so, the President of the United States. In fact, let me show you. I think we've got some footage. I'd love to get your response to this footage because Gaza, over the last 16 months, have a look at the screen, has suffered an apocalyptic level of destruction. This is a recent drone
Show me
video
that in
January.
Ukraine.
70% of the buildings destroyed. Look at that imagery. That is not an anti-terror operation. That is not just targeting Hamas. That is, look at the imagery. That is something out of, I don't even know is that a Mad Max movie? It's entirety destruction.
Look,
that's not
he has to defend
I don't know what is. I haven't seen scenes like that in Ukraine, maybe in one town, Mariupol, but I haven't seen the entire Gaza Strip.
Mehdi, by every measurement of urban warfare,
You see?
Israel has
Please don't give me a talking point, Joe.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at that.
Respond to the footage. What is your
That's not urban warfare, man.
No, I do. Don't say that. I do give a damn. I do give a damn.
Some talking about urban warfare
No,
stats.
no, it is.
I know the stats. I can give you stats. I'm asking you to respond to that footage.
Agreed. And
entire cities and towns wiped
Gaza
out.
needs to be rebuilt.
That's
no
not
doubt.
engaging with the footage.
No, it is.
What is your human reaction to seeing entire towns, cities, refugee camps wiped out?
My reaction is that really sucks. That's horrible. That needs to be rebuilt. But I'm not going to lay the lion's share of the blame on.
That really sucks. That's it. You see the indifference? I'm an Arab American, and I really, in my heart of heart, believe that I have no value in the eyes of Western government or my own government in the United States or my Christian Zionist friends. I have no value at all. Imagine all this destruction, men getting the R word, put phones in their rectums, amputating their legs because they tied them on purpose so tight that they deprive the blood to their limbs. Not even one story in mainstream media. But if an Israeli Jew slips on a banana someplace in Hebron or anything, the whole night mainstream media will have it that the Palestinian actually put a banana, on the ground to purposely try to trip an Israeli Jew in Hebron. This is facts, man. You don't need to go away from it. You don't need to go any place from it. There's a big indifference that Palestinians have no value and they're all in it. You see what they did to the protesters in these universities? We will stop giving you money. You understand? Oh, we will put you on a facial recognition database. When you get out of these colleges, you can't find no job. This is 1984 Orwell stuff. This is China stuff. These are come on.
On Israel.
The people who wiped that out. The people who chose to drop 2,000-pound bombs on civilian homes, apartments, buildings.
I'm going to lay the lion's share of the blame on Hamas for starting the war on October 7th, knowing exactly what would happen.
Before October 7th, 3 days or 4 days, the Israel struck with their airplane and killed more than 20 or 30 Palestinians. There were 200 people that have been killed in the West Bank. This is prior to October 7th. And since 2009, Israel had a policy of mowing the land. Every time they attack Gaza, they will kill 14 to 2,000 Palestinians. So October 7th is a prelude to what's been going on to these people. And under international law, Palestinians have every right to fight for their freedom and for their land and to self-rule themselves. I'm going to tell you something. Hamas is not considered a terrorist organization under international law. According to the United Nations, Hamas is a resistant group that is fighting for their self-determination. But our media and our government have put it on a list. Any Palestinian that says they want their freedom, they are terrorists, they are worse, they avoid them like the plug.
Hiding for years behind their civilians, putting their civilians in harm's way. I'm not going to blame the
It's a very strange
army.
argument that says they started a war knowing that would happen. So,
yeah.
So hold on. So if I start a fight with a known gangster or murderer and he kills a bunch of my family in response, it's my fault?
Oh.
No, seriously. The law, it's a very strange argument. You're basically conceding that
Yes.
Israel was going to respond in a genocidal way. That's what you're saying.
Oh,
You're saying Hamas started knowing Israel would do that. That doesn't make
I'm
it
not-
morally right what Israel
I'm not
did.
conceding that's a genocidal way.
What is that? What is
I'm
that
just
imagery
saying-
in your eyes? I'm trying to understand. What is that imagery?
that is a horrible result.
That is something we've
That
not
is-
seen in modern wars. I mean, what they've done in Gaza, other military commanders, you know this, Joe,
No, I
including the
know.
US, have said, we would never do this.
But Mehdi,
the UK, the US.
The Gaza is a very unusual setting for a war like this.
Yes,
I'll
it is.
give you this. But we're talking
50%
about
children.
We're talking about Hamas that has a history of purposely provoking Israel, then
Your
hiding
claim,
behind.
they would say they're provoked by Israel by an unending occupation.
but
But I want to ask you this question about civilians. I do want to ask you a question.
I love being with you.
No, but I want to ask you because I want to deal with actual substantive stuff.
But that is substantive
No,
stuff.
that's opinion. I want to deal with fact.
Oh my God.
It is opinion about who provoked who. We can get into that. I will come to that, I promise. But just dealing with this, I just want to deal with human. Because the reason I want to talk to you about the subject is because at home in the US, I see you caring about human rights, civil liberties, democracy, fascism. And then I see Israel, you're on the wrong side completely. So when I look at, for example, that destruction, I don't think you would defend that if it wasn't Israel that was doing it. Similarly, 6-year-old Hind Rajab, you always say Hamas, Hamas, Hamas. Yes. This is the great excuse for Israel committing war crimes. You have a 6-year-old girl, Hind Rajab, infamously killed in a car with her 4 cousins, her uncle and aunt, all killed by an Israeli tank that was firing at them. She makes a 911 call. Very, very tragic, horrific call. They send 2 paramedics, Palestinians, to rescue her. The Israelis killed the paramedics as well in the ambulance. Sky News, the Washington Post have all debunked the Israeli denials that their tank wasn't in the area at the time. The UK independent investigators, Forensic Architecture, they looked at it and said that the Israelis fired 335 bullets into this car and that the tank...
And everybody's dead except this girl named Hind. The family was killed by Israeli drones, I think it was. The girl called her aunt, and it was all recorded. And when the paramedics, they were given an okay by the Israeli military to go and pick up this little girl. They told them it's okay. They gave them the green light. They go, they kill the paramedic, and they kill the little girl. If these are not war crimes, why are we letting these things go? Why? Why are we okay with that? Why is the media okay with that? Why is CNN okay with that? Why is MSNBC okay with that? Why is the CBS, ABC, all these news organizations? You know why? Because they're afraid of the ADL and AIPAC, and they have most of the media is controlled or dominated by Jewish journalists, executives, and people who own these companies and CEOs. Let's not lie to each other over here, okay? Let's not make up some stuff. Well, I really think so. We don't know why they don't want to cover that. Maybe they don't want to scare American kids.
Driver had to have seen that there were children sitting in this car. How do you defend that, Joe?
I don't.
Can't
I
defend
don't.
You do. I've got a quote from you that says Israel deserves
you do.
immense praise for
Got the
winning this war
receipts.
as carefully as they
Got
can.
the
Would
receipts,
you say
man.
that to the remaining family members?
No,
of
no,
Hind?
no, let me finish.
Would you say that to the faces of Hind Rajab's family?
Oh, God, no. Mehdi, look, I defend the way Israel. Let me finish.
In abstract, which is why I get specific.
No.
I know how people do this. Abstract.
No.
Specific.
So let me address both.
Yeah.
I agree. Broadly speaking, I defend the way Israel has fought this war, acknowledging that, and let me finish this thought, that
Please.
Mistakes are made in every war, and that there are purposeful,
It's not
indefensible acts made.
It's not a war. A war is between two uniformed military with the almost same weapon. But if you have F-35s, F-16, you have drones, you have the most sophisticated weapons free of charge being delivered 24 hours a day. A C-130 used to deliver weapons 4 times a day, every 24 hours a day. There was a bridge of weaponry ready to go free of charge to kill Palestinian women and children by Western countries. The biggest culprit is us, the United States. We gave almost $30 to $40 billion in weapons, and there are more. It's more because according to Joe Biden, for national security, we cannot tell how much the value of the weapons we gave away. And you have the British, who are the most scummiest, the worst tragedy that ever happened to human history is the British Empire. Everything that's going on is because of the British. And you have the German, who have a guilt issue, who killed 6 million Jews, but want to take that now. They want to do it right by killing 2 million Palestinians. It doesn't make no sense. We are arming, protecting through the media, through our political framework, apparatus, right? Apparatus, whatever the word is, we are defending war crimes, man. Especially these idiots. These Christian Zionists are the biggest idiots in the world. Well, we're going to bring Jesus by having people kill other children that Jesus says you cannot kill children. And then when Jesus comes, when Israel is full with the Jews from all over the world and the Palestinians are dead, then Jesus will come and give the Jews 2 choices. Either you die or you convert. Does that really make sense to you? Christians, you need to concentrate on the Christian communities in the Middle East. Pre-2001, the Iraqi war, the weapons of mass destruction by a guy named George W. Bush, who said his hero was Jesus, but lied to kill 1 million Iraqis. There was about 3 million Iraqi Christians living in Baghdad, and all middle class teachers, scientists lived free with the other Iraqis. Now they're down to almost 300, 500,000. Same thing in the other. Help the Christian communities in the Middle East if you want to really help your brothers, instead of giving an axe to a mass murder.
Even by the IDF and any military. And that's an example of one. And this is...
So you're agreeing then that in this war that you support, Israel has committed war crimes?
I agree.
They can't.
Purposeful... Yes, mistakes have been made.
No, not mistakes.
Mistakes.
Mistake
No, it's
is,
not
I
mistakes.
shot that person. I didn't mean to shoot that person. A war crime is I deliberately killed a civilian, which you seem to concede for a moment, and then you pulled back.
No, hold on. I don't know that I'm going to call it a war crime.
Why?
I'm going to say, I don't know.
What's killing a child with 335 bullets is not a war crime?
Give me the formal definition of war.
A violation of international humanitarian law, deliberately targeting civilians. What every human rights group. I mean, I could start reading to you. I can read to you from the International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor's indictment.
Yes,
we know.
So many
Jewish groups in Israel said what Israel is doing in Gaza is a genocide. Israeli themselves, Israeli Holocaust survivors, Israel is not a real word. Jewish Holocaust survivors, Jewish scientists, Jewish scholars like Pepe, what's his name? Elon Pepe, historians are saying the same thing, that Israel, the Zionist entity, is committing war crimes. Now you have to understand what I'm talking about here. The Zionist government of Israel has nothing to do with the Jews or Judaism. A matter of fact, I think for them to use Judaism as a vehicle to kill people is a stain on the Jewish community more than it is a stain on the Zionist entity. Really, I'm really serious about that.
Actually charged.
So, Mehdi,
the Prime Minister supports with war crimes.
Well,
and crimes against humanity.
I don't support that
Prime
Minister.
You've praised that, yeah.
I also called for him to resign.
I know, but you've also praised him. You've also praised him.
Right.
You got to read his Twitter, the guy. How did those Palestinians? Those Palestinians are terrorists. They deserve everything they get. The ADL calls, good boy, Joe. You've been doing good work here. You are good goyim.
Right. But let me get that on the record. 2 weeks after October 7th, I said he needs to go.
And then in the 18 months since, you've praised a man who was indicted.
I've also been critical of him as well.
Indicted for war crimes.
I could care less about what the IJC said about war crimes.
You sound like a
So the IGC is not a real international court.
Republican of old now.
No,
you do. Republicans.
No.
This is what I'm saying.
You're like
the hypocrisy of this. I'm sorry to cut you off. The ICC, the international court, when they indicted Putin for war crimes and called him a war criminal, they were all celebrating, the same people like him. As soon as they indicted Netanyahu, oh, this is a banana. This is a kangaroo court. We have to sanction them, sanction the prosecutor, sanction the judges. Why we do that? Are we not supposed to be the shining city on the hill? America has lost its way, inside and outside. We need to revisit our core values as Americans. We cannot give free weapons to another nation that's killing unarmed civilians. And you have Trump is going, oh, Gaza Riviera. What the hell is that? That's an insult to injury. You have people who've been killed, murdered, maimed, and R-word, everything you could think about. And at the end of the day, you want to push them off their land and scatter them all over the place as refugees so you could build high-rise apartment in their place. This is disgusting, man. And I'm disappointed on Donald Trump and his thinking. That's why I really don't have nothing to do with him anymore. The only thing I support is the other one gender, two genders. That I agree with.
Like rule of law, judiciary, courts. Abroad, screw the ICJ and the ICC. Do you see how you switch from home and abroad? At home, you're Joe Walsh, the Democrat.
Still a shame.
And abroad, you're Joe Walsh, supporter of fascism, anti-international law.
But you know what's great about this whole thing is it's all focused on Israel. You haven't for a second talked about what is.
Well, why would I? You're not a supporter of the Palestinians or Hamas. When I talk to people who support that, I ask them about that. You are a supporter of the Israeli government, so I'm going to ask you about Israel.
And you
can do whataboutism all you want. Again, that's what MAGA people do here. When you ask them about MAGA, what do? They blame the Democrats. So let's not play that.
No,
game.
Let's
ask you about Israel.
Mehdi, it's not the MAGA game. I'm going to say yes. Israel's made mistakes. I'm going to say yes. Israel. Call what you want. Israel.
No, I'm asking you to call it.
And I'm going to tell you. I don't know.
I'm going
to tell you.
Joe.
No,
I'm not going to let you run away with it. You can shout all you want. 335 bullets fired into a car with children. Is that a war crime?
I don't. You know what? Could be investigated. But God damn it,
it was investigated, Joe.
This is what Hamas does all the time.
Right.
Hiding behind civilians is a war crime. You know what?
By the way, you said I see you say this all the time.
What?
Hiding behind civilians. And yet, when Israelis actually use Palestinians as human shields, you don't say anything. Last week, it emerged. I checked your Twitter, Joe. You can correct me.
What?
Last week, it emerged that an 80-year-old man, Israeli press reported, was being used as a human shield. They were taking him into houses,
80 years old,
in front of them, an actual human shield. Right? They were using a Palestinian man.
But
they've done that many times.
They're using an 80-year-old man as a shield to put him into tunnels and houses. If they're booby trapped, he gets killed. We have seen Israeli soldiers steal and loot Palestinian home. We see them dressed in Palestinian women's in underwear clothes or in innerwear clothes. These are the most disgusting human beings on earth. They have no value at all. They are not the most moral army in the world. You saw the videos, man. They were going into houses. Imagine going through the drawers of people who you've been killed, probably taking out the women's clothes and putting them on, or make fun of them, or steal them and take them home to their wives as booty, right? That's what it was called.
Do you know they've sent?
They've done that
let me
many
finish the
times.
sentence. They send Palestinians into tunnels in Gaza. Have you condemned that as
Mehdi,
have you condemned that as a use of human shields?
was
Yes,
not
sir.
aware of it, and if I was aware of it, I'd
Why aren't
condemn
you
it.
aware? It's all over the Israeli press.
Why are you not acknowledging that this is Hamas's policy, and this has been their policy from day
What
one?
I acknowledge
and
about
this
Hamas is irrelevant because
then
I don't support Hamas.
Let me hear you
Hold on,
say
hold on.
it.
I don't support Hamas. Do you support Hamas?
Do
you support Hamas?
no.
Do you support Hamas?
No.
I don't support Hamas. So that's done. Do I support
No,
Israel?
stop for a minute.
Can
It's
I finish
not
a
done.
sentence?
No.
Can I
You-
finish a
no,
sentence?
not when you don't let me
Joe,
finish sentences.
let me finish mine.
Bullshit,
I promise
man.
I'll give you a long
Let-
answer. I'll give you a long answer if you let me finish this one sentence. I don't support Hamas. Do you support Hamas?
No.
I don't support Israel. Do you support Israel?
Yes.
So, but that's what we're going to talk about. Now I'm gonna
Stop.
ask-
No.
It's very simple. You're here to support
No,
Israel.
but stop. But
Why am I
Hamas.
talking about-
This guy is a master debater, man. The first time I ever saw Mehdi Hasan, go look it up on YouTube. It's called, it's a debate in Oxford University. He destroyed the other side. He was probably in his 20s, man. He wrote a book, if you want to go get it. It's called How to Win Every Argument. You're not going to win, Joe, because you're on the wrong side of history, and you'll always be. And history will be revisited and will be the most disgusting moment in American history when we stood silent as we gave free weapons to kill women and children. It will be revisited. America has a way of revisiting its mistakes.
about something we both
Hamas
disagree
has
with?
been the governing entity in Gaza for how many years? So yes, you do need to talk about Hamas because Hamas did what they did on October
And we've
7th.
condemned it. So we both
Hamas
condemn
has a
that.
history. Do you condemn? Yes. Do
Yes,
you condemn?
but you're not condemning Israeli war
Do-
crimes. That's what I don't understand. You're trying to dodge it with what about is about Hamas. It's a very simple question.
You
I can
put-
keep going. Let's play a clip here. Let's play a clip for you to watch.
No, you-
We got a clip of a grandmother. Here's a grandmother.
She
Maybe you're not
holds
aware
the
of this.
hand of her
This is a
5-year-old
Palestinian grandmother in her
grandson,
50s.
Tayyip.
She's holding a child, right, in her arm. He's got a white flag. She's shot in cold blood by an Israeli sniper who's
Mehdi, I don't know what the hell that was.
He doesn't know what it
How
is.
did I know?
He doesn't know
it's
what
a
it
sniper
is.
who shot at a Palestinian grandmother.
Mehdi,
It's being-
you
the
invite me
Israelis
on, you
themselves are
show me a
investigating.
clip
It's
of
a
that,
famous clip.
and
Her
you
name is
tell me
Carla
what it
Grace.
is. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
I'd like to know what that
Should I
is.
go
I'm
through?
not familiar
You know,
with
I
that.
can go through multiple
Play
examples,
ignorance.
right? You know that. I can start reading multiple examples. The Al Dos family in Gaza, whose apartment building
Yes,
was bombed.
and
We can go through each
Stop.
and every
But
example.
where you and I will disagree is this. And I'm telling you, this is ugly and it's horrible and it's unfortunate.
crime.
Condemn
It's
it.
not Israel's
Condemn it,
policy
man.
to
Man
target
up.
civilians. Israel has gone out of their way not to. They are fighting an opposition, Mehdi, that has a history of doing the exact opposite.
You say they don't have a policy of doing that.
And see, you won't acknowledge that. You won't. Can you say yes or no to that?
What, yes or no too?
Does Hamas have a history of doing the exact opposite?
Hamas
does
has a
does
history.
Hamas
Hold on.
target Israeli civilians?
Hamas has, yes, it has in the past. For
Does-
example, when I was a teenager, I was condemning bus bombings, if you remember in the 90s,
It-
right? But hold on.
Wait, as a
This
policy,
is
though,
pure
Mehdi.
whataboutism, Joe.
No, it's
because
not.
It is.
As a policy.
You're-
That's the policy of Hamas,
only
the
I'm
governing entity
I'm
of
the
Gaza.
only one here who has condemned civilian killings on both sides. You've called it a mistake, which I find grotesque. Let me read to you about Israeli policy. This is from Haaretz last year, Israeli newspaper. You're saying you're not aware of this. Let me tell you this. An Israeli soldier relays that a senior commander asked him to shoot an unarmed man with a white flag. He said he's got a white flag. He says, I don't care. Shoot him. It's an order. Another Israeli soldier told Plus 972 there were no restrictions on ammunition. We could just shoot to relieve our boredom. We don't need to explain. You just shoot. When soldiers see someone approaching, it's permissible to shoot them. We can shoot a young girl, an old woman. This is testimony from Israeli soldiers, Joe, that it's a free fire zone. They can shoot and kill whoever they want.
Yeah.
That is a policy. That is a war crime, and many would argue that's genocide. That is what you're defending today, which is kind of
Do
sad.
you believe Answer this question.
No.
No.
I'm not here to answer your question.
I'm saying I condemn that. And
Finally, that's a war
hold
crime.
on.
It's easy to say I condemn it.
No, man.
Why won't you call it a war crime? I'll say what Hamas did on October 7th was a war crime. Will you say what I described a war crime? Everyone's watching. I'm the only one saying the
hold on. Maybe a war crime. I don't trust some international group who
you don't trust Palestinians who talk about
hold
being
on. I don't trust an international group with an inherent anti-Israel bias to tell me that's a war crime.
The International Criminal
Israel,
Court,
by the way,
anti-Israel bias.
Oh God, yeah, like the UN has, like the UN has in
you
its
just made a claim. This is very Trumpy right now. You're just throwing things around. What is the ICC's evidence of anti-Semitism?
Do me a favor, do me one favor. Don't call it Trumpian. Don't call it MAGA.
Because it's so fascinating to see that you are borrowing.
I think the United Nations has an anti-Israel bias.
That's a different answer. I said it's the ICC. Where's the ICC's anti-Israel bias?
That's not Trumpian.
I don't want to debate that right now. I'm asking Israel, because it's a long debate. This is a very simple one. Where's your evidence of ICC anti-Israel bias? Most of the people they've indicted are African leaders. They haven't indicted anyone from Israel ever. They also indicted Hamas commanders.
Because I do not believe Israel's committing a genocide, and I think they were out of line saying that Israel's
ICC never said they're committing a genocide.
What ICC said?
International Criminal Court said he's guilty.
If you took Joe Walsh to Gaza and let him bury every child that's being killed, be part of the funeral procession of 13 to 15,000 children, he will still say actually that's not a genocide. It's not a war crime that these 15,000 children were killed in a time my memory is shot of 15 months. He will say it's not. He will never ever betray his masters. He will never betray the AIPAC and the ADL and all the other organizations. They're just afraid. I don't know why Christians are afraid of these organizations.
Charged him
with war crimes,
with willful killing of civilians and starvation.
Charged two.
Right? And guess who backed them up? Guess who was their advisor? Theodore Myron.
Charged two.
Holocaust survivor. Israeli judge. Is he anti-Israel as well?
Charged two. Netanyahu.
Netanyahu and Gallant.
You think Benjamin Netanyahu and Gallant have purposely tried to destroy, kill, and starve?
That is what the evidence that the
ICC they stopped the food.
The ICC has.
And your argument is, instead of engaging with the evidence, like the evidence
I'm giving you,
is to say that. Hold on, let me finish that.
The judge in the international, one of the judges is a Holocaust survivor, is Jewish, and he said yes, Netanyahu and Gallant have committed war crimes in Gaza, and this guy does not have the cojons or corns or the balls to say the truth.
Anti-Israel bias. That's just Trumpian.
Mehdi,
you're not engaging in the facts.
You know what you've done. You know what you've done again. You're not the ICC. I'm not. You know what you've done. This is what you do. I love you. You're great. But you will grab example after example, and you'll tell me that factual instances, and you'll tell me this is proof that this is Israel's policy. And I'm telling you,
just read out to you what soldiers say is
Israel's policy is not to target and wipe out and destroy.
And the difference between me and you is you're just opining and I'm giving evidence. How do you know it?
You're giving
me an example.
You're giving me examples.
So far, since this interview began, I've read out to you what the deputy speaker said, which you condemned. I've read out to you about a kid being killed, which you apparently... Let me finish. You keep interrupting me and saying I'm interrupting you.
Bullshit.
A kid being killed, you've condemned it. I've shown you a video of a grandmother being killed. You said you don't know anything about it. I've read out quotes from Israeli soldiers, and I've quoted the International Freaking Criminal Court. And you said they're just anti-Israel. That does sound Trumpy.
Well, they are anti-Israel. I've condemned...
He didn't show the grandmother image unless I missed it or something, because it's on YouTube. If you go see it on his Zeteo Substack channel, you will see that they killed a grandmother who had a white flag with a 5-year-old child in her hand. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in human history, and I don't think Israel is going to survive what they did. Usually, countries who commit mass murder or genocide to maintain their oppressive behavior and injustice against the native population eventually usually destroy themselves. And I can't wait to see it. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't wait to see it.
I'll stay here all day. Where's your evidence that the ICC is anti-Israel?
I'll condemn every example you've given me.
Where is the evidence ICC is anti-Israel?
My evidence that they're not is the way that Israel has conducted this war. Period. Trying to
making
move
Gaza uninhabitable,
civilians
starving
out of the
people.
way. Leaflets to notify civilians to get out of here.
Tens of
Going out of the
thousands
way.
of people.
Clearing hospitals.
They
Don't
destroyed
believe
most of the hospitals in Gaza. Just stop.
26 hospital has been destroyed, man. Stop. 12 universities, all the schools, all the shelters, everything has been destroyed on purpose, man.
Why
Stop
they
this.
destroy
Stop.
hospitals?
You haven't answered my question.
Have they not
lying.
given warning?
It's very funny that you haven't answered my question, but I'm going to
What?
go back to, you've known me for years, I'm going to go back to it. What's your evidence that the International Criminal Court has an anti-Israel bias?
I think they've exhibited anti-Israel bias because I do not believe the evidence they presented justified that willfully Netanyahu and Gallant committed war crimes.
You've read all the evidence. The evidence is there.
I got to go back, but yeah, I read a lot of it.
Their legal advisor,
I do not.
The guy who supported them,
right?
The guy who supported them is a man named Judge Theodore Myron, who's a Holocaust survivor and an Israeli judge. He said,
"I'd feel the same."
These charges. Is he anti-Israel as well?
I'd feel this.
No, but is he anti-Israel as well? You don't say you disagree with the court. You go for this lazy. They're anti-Israel. They're anti-Semitic.
I do disagree with the court.
That's fine. But what's the evidence that they're anti-Israel?
I think they've
You have
always
done.
said.
It's just a conspiracy. It's just ad hominem. And that's why I say it sounds Trumpy. You just throw out anti-Israel. Based on what? You've got no evidence. I consider all day. What's your evidence for the ICC?
Because I think they had it in for Netanyahu.
Based on what? Who cares what you think?
I got to go back. When I look at what was put forward.
They've charged mostly African leaders, and in this case, they've charged Hamas and Israel. And your argument is, instead of engage with the copious evidence that the prosecutors brought, that the judges have supported.
You look at the way Israel.
The evidence is there. You don't want to hear starvation.
You look at the way
they're starving people in Gaza. Are they starving people in Gaza?
What would you answer me something?
No,
they're not starving people.
So Cindy McCain, is she anti-Israel as well? The head of the World Food Program, widow of the most pro-Israel senator in our lifetime. She has said that people are starving to death in Gaza. They're blocking our aid trucks.
Whose fault is that?
Is she lying, Cindy McCain? She's blaming Israel.
Watch. He's going to find a way to defend that. First, he said they're not starving. Once we tell him Cindy McCain is the wife of the late Senator John McCain. She was in charge of the food program of the United Nations. And she came out and said the truth. She said the Palestinians are being deliberately starved in northern Gaza, and there's a famine that is deliberately been set on them by the Israeli who have denied them food to get there. Watch it. When he gets caught, but they were stealing the trucks. Look.
She lying.
People in Gaza may be starving.
Is she lying is what I asked.
No, let me. Damn it, Mehdi, would you ask a fuck? Then don't ask it 4 times. Yes,
answer it the first time, and I have to repeat it.
Do me a favor. Stop. Let me speak.
Please.
Yes, there's starvation in Gaza, but gosh darn it, Israel has gone out of their way to allow aid in. And who stopped the aid? I mean, for 2-3 years, who's robbed the aid trucks and all the?
They have nothing to offer. Empty pocket.
The Biden administration you supported, they didn't present evidence of Hamas.
Oh gosh, yes,
there were criminal gangs that Israel actually supports, according to the Israeli press.
I love you, man.
Let me ask you this, because you're very supportive of Israel. That's why I want to do this interview, and then you don't want to actually defend them. You want to make it about Hamas. Just before, I got to ask you this.
I do. No. Stop. I defend the way Israel's fought this war.
Even though every example I've given you say you condemn it, but at the end you still support
them. Even though
them.
there are examples of outrageous and atrocious behavior.
I had Ehud Olmert.
It's not the policy of the idea.
I've had Ehud Olmert. By the way, whether it's your policy or not, a war crime is a war crime, Joe. By the way, just to break that to you, it doesn't matter what your policy is. If you commit a war crime, that's a crime. That's just so you know international law. I've had Ehud Olmert on the show, former Prime Minister of Israel. I've had Ami Ayalon on the show, former head of Shin Bet. On that screen, and they've supported Israel, but they've also criticized Israel's in many ways, in a way I don't hear someone like you criticizing Israel. You can. I'll swim across the ocean to defend Israel. You're very gung-ho in your support for Israel in a way that Israelis are not. They're like, our country is messing up big time. And then there's you. I haven't heard you criticize so many things Israel are doing. You are today because I've asked you to. But I went through your Twitter thread. I went through your Twitter, Joe. Let me just ask you.
Mehdi,
I just want to check your views.
I don't.
So let's check. So viewers know your views. So
generally, I don't.
You don't criticize Israel?
No. I will, but generally, I don't.
So, for example, 40,000 Palestinians in the West Bank have been driven from their homes. The Israelis said you can't come back. That's a war crime. Do you condemn that? Just in the last few weeks.
Can't.
Do you criticize
What do you mean they've been driven from their homes?
They've been pushed out by the Israeli military. 40,000 people, the size of a town in your old district in Illinois, just gone. And they've been told you cannot come back. Netanyahu's sitting in their house in a photo. You would go mad if Vladimir Putin was sitting in a Ukrainian home.
Mehdi, I don't understand what. Pull back for a minute. After October 7th, what would you have had Israel
The West
do?
Bank has nothing to do with October 7th. That's why I specifically asked about the West Bank, because I know you're obsessed with going back to October 7th. Hamas as if the world began.
I'm sorry.
The West Bank. Hamas does not run the West Bank.
I didn't know you were talking about the West Bank.
I'm talking about the West Bank. 40,000 people driven from their homes by violent settlers. You've been watching the violent settlers, crazy people. I assume you don't agree with them. They make Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump look moderate, the far-right Israeli settlers.
They are as close as we've got to radical Islamist terrorists.
And they are driving people out of their homes, 40,000 people. Do you condemn that? I've not seen you say a word about that on your social media and your shows. That's happening right now. I don't hear you criticizing Israel for it.
I don't.
You don't criticize Israel for driving 40,000 people from their homes?
No, I don't. Look, Israel has to, they're not going to make the same mistake they made in Gaza.
They're doing exactly what they did in Gaza, actually. They're displacing people from their homes.
What do you mean they're doing what they did in Gaza?
Well, 1 million people have been driven from their homes in Gaza.
And
now we have 50,000 people.
Why?
Because Israel is breaking international law.
Oh, not because the ruling governing entity of Gaza declared war on Israel on October 7th.
Even if that were true.
And that's not true?
No, there was a war before October 7th.
No.
I know Joe Walsh's world began on October 7th, but there's been
I know
since
that.
1967. Hamas didn't even exist in 1967. So the war didn't begin on October the 7th. But my question is, you're saying now today. Okay, let me ask you this.
They initiated the latest stage of this war.
200 kids killed in the West Bank since October 7th. Are you okay with that?
No, I'm not okay.
Israel? Okay, do you condemn Israel for killing 200 children in the West Bank?
I'd have to know, Mehdi.
You'd have to know how the children were killed.
Yes, I'd have to know how the children was killed. Who's responsible for the children?
The Israelis are.
Just like
the
Israelis are.
Yeah,
just like I want to know every Israeli,
these are kids killed with
every settler killed in the West Bank. Look, Mehdi, this is
200 kids killed, and you can't bring yourself to condemn that.
I do condemn it. I want to know.
Just a moment ago. You literally did not.
I don't know who killed those 200
Israel
kids.
did, according to every international observer, human rights, the UN.
Show me.
Show me what?
Show me every instant where the two, and I'll show you a terrorist attack where 6 Israelis.
There is not true. There are no. Many of these cases involve children.
No, I'll show you a terrorist attack where Israelis
You're just making stuff up now.
No, I'm not.
You are. I said to you, many kids are killed, and you just assume there's a terrorist attack. No.
Mehdi, you make this sound like a fucking one-sided affair forever. I know the war is going on
Maybe
forever.
that's telling. Maybe that's telling.
But hold. What do you mean? Maybe that's telling.
It is one-sided.
Stop.
One side is the occupier. The other side is occupied. One side has nuclear weapons and is killing thousands of children. The other side has not killed thousands of children.
Let me ask you a question. Answer this. There's no peace in that region. Why? Is it completely one-sided?
Because of Benjamin Netanyahu.
That's why.
No, those are his words, not
that's
mine.
why.
Those are his words, not mine.
No, I'm asking.
It's funny because you said recently.
I'm not. No.
I'm glad you brought this
asking.
up. You said there would be peace in the Middle East tomorrow if the Palestinians wanted peace and agreed Israel has a right to exist. That's all it would take. And that's all. It's on the Palestinians, you said. Israel has always wanted peace. Ehud Olmert came on my show. He doesn't agree with you. Ehud Barak doesn't agree. There are Israeli politicians who say, actually, no, Israeli governments have blocked peace.
Let me ask you something.
Netanyahu said recently, no, Joe, you don't get to ask me a question.
No, let me answer.
No, then I'm going to answer it 4 times.
Let me answer.
Answer my question.
I'm not. No, I'm not going to accept
Benjamin Netanyahu says, I'm the guy who blocked peace, blocked a Palestinian state for decades. He's bragging about blocking peace. And you're pretending that Israel isn't the block.
Hold on. I'm asking you.
I can read you the quote.
I'm asking you. I want to make sure I heard you correct.
Go on.
There is not peace in that region. Are you telling me that's all on Israel?
It's not all on Israel, but it's mostly on Israel.
It's mostly on Israel. Going back 70, 80 years.
Oh, of course. If you want to get into 1948, we could do that. There'll be another show. We don't have time for that today. But in terms of the last couple of decades of the quote-unquote peace process, Netanyahu said, his words, everyone knows that I am the one who for decades blocked the establishment of a Palestinian state. He's saying it out loud. And then you go on Twitter and say it's all the Palestinians' fault. That's absurd.
It is because the Hamas, the PLO, the Palestinian.
There we go. So those names in there.
Palestinian people.
That's what they do to confuse the American public. Hamas.
Do not believe Israel has a right to exist.
That's not
do you
true.
acknowledge that?
No,
that is true, Mehdi.
Arafat in 1993, the PLO recognizes the state of Israel's right to exist in peace and security.
That was
1993.
It's part of Hamas.
And who ended that peace process? Netanyahu.
Who ended that peace process?
Rabin's widow blames Netanyahu. She says my husband's dead.
Rabin's widow does.
Yeah.
And Arafat walked away from it as well.
That you are more pro-Netanyahu than Rabin, Barak, Olmert. It's weird that Joe Walsh is more pro-Netanyahu than Israeli leaders who blame Netanyahu for this.
I'm pro-Israel.
No.
I'm pro-Israel.
Because the Israelis don't agree with you. Thousands of Israelis took
I do not sit in front of you and say that this is all one-sided like you pretty much say.
Joe, you're lying.
Crap,
okay, I'm going to read the quote to the viewers. It is on the Palestinians.
Yes.
That's what you just said.
I stand by that.
So you just lied.
No, hold on.
Joe,
I didn't
10 seconds
just
ago
lie.
you said I didn't say I put it all on the Palestinians. I'm
I
read the quote
don't,
again.
Mehdi, I don't put it all on the Palestinian
it is on the
people.
Palestinians. Israel has always wanted peace.
Yes.
That is putting it all on the Palestinians.
No, hold on. No, it's
I'll
not.
read it a third time.
No,
That's all it would
Mehdi,
take.
don't
You
read
can't
it a
pull
third
my
time.
questions out of
Let
my
me
hat.
answer the freaking question. Yes, the Palestinian people have to say that. And if they say that, Mehdi, then the Israeli people have to accept that.
They have said it multiple times.
Bull crap.
Well,
if the
you don't know what you're talking about.
No, you don't. If the Palestinian
No, I can
people,
give you evidence.
if
You've
the
not given any evidence
Palestinian
today.
people said tomorrow, if they all rose
They
up,
said it in 1993, 1988. The Arab Peace Initiative, 2002, 2007,
bullshit.
2017.
It was part of the PLO chapter
It's
as of
said
a few years
multiple
ago.
times.
It's still part of Hamas's chapter.
That's Hamas, not the PLO. Let me ask
It
one
was
last
part
question
of the
because we're out of
PLO
time.
charter.
You don't support a two-state solution.
No.
You have attacked the idea of a two-state solution. So what do you propose that millions of Palestinians just live under occupation and apartheid with no voting rights, no equality?
It's not occupation. It's not apartheid.
What is it?
Whatever word you want. Palestinians living with no voting rights, no equality, no freedom, indefinitely. That's the Joe Walsh solution.
Palestinians were given Gaza.
That's not what I asked.
I'm getting to my answer.
You're a
Palestinians
liar.
were given Gaza.
No, they
And
were
look
not.
What they did with it. The Palestinians were given the West Bank.
When
Look
were they
what
given the West Bank? You're lying, Joe. They were never given the West Bank. Israel has occupied the West Bank since 1967.
They were given.
Either this guy's a fucking idiot or talking points. I think they're mostly idiots or ignorant. You know, he has to say the part, we support Israel, we love Israel. It helps his career. He gets to get invited on TV for interviews. It does help you with the media in the United States. But when I listen to people like that, either they're idiots or I don't know. They got to be idiots or they don't know what the situation is. He is not for the one-state solution. He's not for the two-state solution. Then what solution are you for? The final solution to kill all the Palestinians and drive them off their land? I don't understand these people. I really, really don't. I try, man.
Controls everything in the West Bank.
I know that. After, again, the history is littered with Israel
but I'm not even asking history. I'm asking future.
I'm telling you.
What do you think should happen to 3 million Palestinians living in the West Bank?
It should be Israel, and the Palestinians.
So they should have equal voting rights.
The Palestinians should live in Israel
as Israeli citizens.
Absolutely.
So one state. Okay. You're in favor of one democratic state.
Yes. Absolutely, and I know what you're thinking. I know where you're going. I'm telling you this.
I'm fine with that. I support that.
Okay, that's good.
I've always
that's good.
supported
Okay.
that because Arabs and Muslims.
But then you know the Palestinians would probably end up being the majority in that state, which is why the Jewish people have blocked that.
I do know that. Maybe I'm not convinced of that.
But you would say, a solution to the Middle East would be to give all of the Palestinians in the West Bank and all of the Palestinians in Gaza, Israelis should have one state.
I would say
one equal state, which have equal rights. Do they have equal rights?
Can I just answer? Yes, a one-state solution.
All right.
The state is Israel. The West Bank, Gaza, it's all Israel.
You know what? I really respect him for that. I don't think he's going to walk it back later on Twitter because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Because Israel and the Jewish population, with the immigration they had, with the killing of Palestinians, with driving around, the expulsion of them, they still will be a minority inside Israel. Imagine after 120 years of Zionist extremism against the native population, Israel has a demographic issue. The only people who are making babies in Israel are the Harday, the Jewish religious extremists who don't even recognize Israel. Good.
Everyone living in that state has equal rights.
All right.
I wrote an article about that 13 years ago.
Well, we're almost in agreement because if they all had equal rights, it wouldn't technically be Israel, which is an ethno state.
I think it would.
But I think we can. I think we can both agree that it's a state where everyone's equal. And I don't care what we call it.
It would be Israel now, but a bigger Israel, and maybe Jews would be outnumbered. But I don't think
I don't care about names. I want equal rights and everyone to have voting rights and freedom.
And I want.
Do you?
Yes, and
Let's
I
end
want
on a note of agreement.
That is beautiful.
Israelis,
thank you.
Everybody to be able to live in peace.
Joe Walsh, thank you for taking this time out to have this debate.
Thanks, man.
This is Zateo. Support this guy. He's great. Okay, in the end, Joe Walsh had a come to Jesus moment, and we all agree on that. We want a one-state solution. Israel, Jews and Arabs could live in harmony. They could live together. The only issue is the Zionist ideology and Zionism is racist in its core. Jews and Arabs have been living for centuries together. Matter of fact, Arab land and Islamic land where most Jews ran to when things used to get too hot for them in Europe. They get upset, you know, they get a lot of issues. They used to run to Arab lands and live safely and happily. Anyway, to close on that, the Zionist Christian need to revisit their stand, support Christians in the Middle East. Don't support the mass murder and the mayhem of Zionism. It doesn't serve you well. Thank you. Until we meet next time. Beautiful, beautiful debate. Mehdi Hasan is a fucking genius, man. And I don't care if I don't get monetized for saying the word F. Thank you. Take care. And I'll see you next time. This is Omar from the Third Rail.